Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market. Let's go over Tesla. A bit of a wild day with FOMC and the rate hike. Of course, we'll go over all that very briefly. But with all that being said, again, as usual, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. I do appreciate it. Again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is just for fun. And of course, I have my membership section live for $2.99 a month, right? You get access to all my intraday thoughts on Tesla as it's moving pretty much as it happens and anything important worth sharing. But all that being said and done, market closing in just a few seconds here. Tesla looking like finally, as surprising as it may be, it's actually getting a red day. Now, keep in mind, don't forget, guys, a red day and a red candle are two different things, right? A red candle just means that it closed lower than it opened, but a red day means that it closed lower than yesterday's, or in this case, yesterday's close, right? So that's exactly what's happening here, which is a shocker. It's not substantially red, of course, but nonetheless, it is a red day and it has broken the absolutely just truly, I mean, regardless of like, you have to, whether you're a bear or a bull, you have to admit that it's a pretty impressive run nonetheless, right? Just complete and straight upward. It's just pretty much SpaceX rocket launched into the stratosphere. I think it's the record. I think, what was this, 14 days, I think, in a row, which is, I think, a record now for Tesla. Either a record or tied for like first place essentially. Anyway, not important. The point is that it is a red day, closing at $256.77 per share, which is going to be putting us down 0.75%, which is very interesting to say for once. Now, what does this mean, right? I'm sure everyone is probably thinking the same thing, like, oh no, is this a top? Like, are we there now? Like, is this where, you know, all hell breaks loose? Maybe we still go up higher. What's happening? Well, the first thing to talk about is, of course, the FOMC. You know, they did pause. They didn't stop. They paused, more specifically, right? And they specifically stated that they're probably going to be raising an overall extra amount of 50 basis points throughout the year. Very likely chance, most likely 225s, right? On top of that, Jay Powell, when he was speaking, was a little bit hawkish from what it seemed like as well. So, you know, the market so far, it seems like they don't really care that much. I mean, wow, QQQ actually ended up 0.73%. So Tesla definitely underperforming the market here, with QQQ still rocketing. But as I said yesterday, I still see room for QQQ to go up, honestly, even a little bit more. Like, I personally wouldn't be surprised if QQQ still goes up another, what is this? Like 1%, really. But pretty much what, more or less, what today's movement is. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up a little bit more, again, to form that cup and handle that I talked about yesterday as a potential situation, right? Which, of course, will affect Tesla, because if it does do this, then usually the handle gets formed, right? A zigzag is in between, essentially doing a bull flag, and then it breaks out. So if it does that, that, of course, will affect Tesla, because it is, of course, tech, right? Now, specifically looking at Tesla, is this the top? Is this the bottom? What, or is this the top? Or is this the drawdown? What's happening? Well, let's do the daily first, actually. So on the daily, we, of course, have the hanging man candlestick pattern, which is literally this, and it's a red hanging man candle, which in my opinion puts a little bit more weight behind this being valid. Now, as usual, you know, with anything, and especially on Tesla, whenever you see these potential, this is technically a top signal, but it's not like this top signal. It pretty much means that, you know, oh, it's good to go and straight down from here we go. No, instead what you need to see is, like I said before, especially on this candle here, right, you need to see follow through on this, right, because this can completely get invalidated. Same thing that happened here. This right here was another top signal. Did it get invalidated? It absolutely did, right? Because of this candle here, right? It started off pretty good, and if it closed somewhere around here, this candle right here, this green one, then it would have validated it. But it clearly didn't, and it clearly just completely destroyed this potential top signal, right? Same thing here, right? For all we know, Tesla could do the exact same thing it did with these two candles right here again. So we have to see how tomorrow plays out. But the easiest way to think about it is, if tomorrow is kind of bearish, you know, or it's like red, then it probably validates it. But of course, we'll see how it plays out. Now, the things that the bulls, you know, as I'm sure they still want, probably, you know, Tesla to go up even more. The thing that they can still look forward to, in my opinion, from the bullish aspect, is the fact that, I mean, really plain and simply, as long as Tesla doesn't fall below this blue teal, whatever line that you can see that's going upright, it's bullish. Like, really, to me, Tesla technically isn't bearish yet. Like, even after forming this candle, which technically is a top signal, unless Tesla breaks this line tomorrow, then it's really going to confirm it. But as long as Tesla is bouncing off this line, so for instance, tomorrow, let's say we come down to somewhere around 250, maybe even like 249, somewhere around there. As long as it holds that level, to me, Tesla can absolutely still bounce from here. And honestly, potentially even still touch $265, which then things will start getting a lot more interesting, right? Because again, I don't think Tesla will go much higher than 265 right now. Again, the longer it takes, the harder it'll be. Wait, did this move? Oh, this did move. No wonder. I'm like, this red line doesn't seem accurate. Should be something like this, right? But nonetheless, you know, As long as Tesla is below 265, to me, that still is going to be like the main level to look at. You can see it is the gap fill. It is obviously a previous level of a lot of support and resistance alike, right? So this 265 level to me is extremely crucial. If it can break that, like I said the other day, then I think, the 280s are absolutely in play. And I think Tesla will pretty much go there next, like pretty quickly as well, right? But as long as Tesla is below 265, and especially if Tesla loses this blue teal line, then I think the mini correction, cool off period, whatever you want to call it, will happen. Now, the first level I'll be looking at for a potential bounce is going to be this gap fill at 234. So, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does something like this. And I saw some people commenting that, oh, I said how, well, okay, I'll get into that. Let me finish this thing first, I guess. But wouldn't be surprised if we come down. Again, this is assuming this bearish pattern triggers. It doesn't have to. We can, like I said, we can still technically bounce here and go up even higher a little bit, right? But again, just for the assumption, just for the theoretical purposes that it does trigger. Let's say the bearishness, the cool off period does begin, right? The first level, again, gap fill around 235. I think from there we'll get our first little small bounce, probably come back up to somewhere around 245, maybe even 250, and then I think from there we'll go even lower, and I think we'll come down to somewhere around 220, 215. Worst case, I think 200, but I think 215, 220 will be like the main level I'll be looking at primarily. Because Tesla obviously has shown a lot of strength. So naturally, the more strength Tesla shows, the less painful or the less severe the drawdown will be, or at least the higher the price target will be on the cool off, on the drawdown, because of the strength naturally, right? That's just kind of how it works, right? But I think it'll be something like this. And the reason I say 220 is because, well, number one, it is going to be more or less a retest of this blue massive trend line that we did break out of, which is very impressive. So again, as always, not always, but more often than not, you want to see a retest of breakouts, and I think Tesla will come down and retest this breakout, assuming, of course, this is where the cool off period begins, which it very well could. I'll show you guys something else that might kind of validate that this is the time that it might actually start happening, right? Very soon. But that's number one, right? This is kind of more or less what I would look for as of right now. On top of that, if you also go over, let's say, to the weekly, let's just remove the drawings for now. You can see, right? Actually, we'll put them back. Right around, there's just too many. I want to probably remove these ones for now. It's a little too cluttered. I don't like when it's too cluttered. It's like annoying. There's just so many important levels. I'm going to remove everything pretty much below like 180 because I just don't think we'll go much lower than 180. Like, I'll be surprised if we ever go lower than 180 anytime soon. But with that being said, right, the main thing you want to look at is on the weekly, you can see, when we came up here, right, this kind of, 200-ish level, maybe even as high as 217-ish right here, you can see, right? A lot of, candles got up to that level and constantly got rejected over here and even over here, right? This 207 level, but this overall like 207 to even 220 level-ish, right, has been a level of a lot of resistance in the past. But now that we finally broke above it, you guys should know by now, that means that this old resistance now turns into support. So on the weekly, wouldn't surprise me if we also come back down to retest that breakout as well, which again will put us somewhere around this general level over here, which is also pretty much retesting the blue line of that breakout as well, right? So we're retesting this old resistance now turns support, which will of course now be over here, and the blue line breakout. So that's kind of the way I'll personally see it happening, if of course this is the period of the cool off, finally beginning, which who knows, honestly, with Tesla, who knows? Easiest way to think about it is really just no reason to guess, no reason to play, to gamble about it. Just take a look. If it breaks below the teal line, it's probably going to begin. That's probably the easiest way to think about it, in my opinion. Now, another thing to consider, however, is the fact that the RSI on the 1 hour, you can see, we talked about how the other day, how Tesla, even though it was kept going up, the RSI on the 1 hour, pretty much ever since this real uptrend began, has been kind of just going sideways. It hasn't really been doing too much, but now you can see it has broken downwards, this little breakdown right here, even though Tesla's still all the way up here. That to me is usually like I use the RSI as almost like a fortune teller, like almost like a crystal globe, This to me is telling me that, the drawdown might actually be pretty damn close, right? The correction, the cool off, whatever, might be actually pretty close. But again, the true confirmation to me is breaking below this teal line, right? That's the main thing I'll be looking at. But this is kind of like, watch out, it might actually be here, right? Just, something to think about, of course. But again, until the teal line breaks, who knows? Now, the main thing, another thing I want to pay attention to, of course, is this post right here. I've seen a couple of ones. There was a better one I saw. I should have like hearted it or bookmarked it or something. It would have been it was honestly a little bit better. But essentially what it shows is that whenever, in this case, I think this is the oscillator he's using, or it's the I'm like blanking on the names, whatever. The point is that whenever it crosses over, the blue line crosses over like the pink or whatever line, right? You can see he lines it up right here. SPY has drawn down from that instance. So, just keep, MACD, it might be MACD or it's oscillator. But nonetheless, whenever it does that, it has, of course, begun a little bit of a downtrend. And, that's something to consider. We're pretty much in that situation right here with SPY. You can see on the 1 hour, very similar concept to Tesla as well, where as long as it stays above this blue line, technically it's still bullish, no issues whatsoever. But if it does fall below, that's when, we might get a little bit of a drawdown, a little bit of a cool off in the market. Same with SPY as well. You can see, it's breaking down a little bit this over here. So, just something else to consider, of course, as well. But again, the main things to look at is essentially by far this teal line. If it stays and holds above it, especially if it comes and retests it tomorrow, cool. I think, technically 265 is in play. And then, of course, if it does touch that, we'll see what actually happens. But like I said, guys, when we had the gap fill over here at 145, and we got pretty damn close to it and everyone was eyeballing it, we pretty much bounced right before we actually got it to it. We prematurely filled it, I guess you can say. Same thing so far is happening here, as I talked about yesterday. We're kind of prematurely filling this 265 gap as well. Will the same thing happen down here and up here? Time will tell, of course, right? Time, of course, will tell. But that's kind of the main things I am personally looking at right now. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you enjoyed the video, of course, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.